Your pie is no longer welcome on Sundays, Margaret Sinclair, the HOA president, informed my daughter at the gate of our farm. Her sleek luxury SUV blocked the driveway as my daughter, Sophie, stood there, clutching a warm pie she had baked as a Father's Day gift, tears welling in her eyes. My wife, Catherine, observed the scene from the kitchen window, her jaw tightening, a familiar expression from her days uncovering a DULA $14 million tax fraud case for the IRS. "They've chosen the wrong family to DVY, she muttered, reaching for her financial forensics notebook. After 42 years designing bridges across the United States, retirement on our family farm was our hard-earned reward. Catherine and I purchased these 20 acres, complete with its aging farmhouse, 15 years ago, transforming it into the warm sanctuary we had always envisioned, a gravel driveway, a red barn, and Catherine's flourishing vegetable garden. It was our forever home until the HOA's oppressive control fractured our family. We selected this rural community for its equilibrium, a peaceful countryside existence with just enough neighbors for mutual support. 5 years ago, our area was absorbed into the newly formed Willow Creek Estates HOA, which pledged to safeguard rural charm and embrace family farms. We paid our dues without protest, investing our SAVYNGS into what we believed would be our final retreat. Our daughter, Sophie, graduated with honors from Northwestern University and now oversees development at a children's hospital in Cincinnati. The 4-hour drive along winding roads after a 60-hour workweek is exhausting, but every Sunday, she arrived with treats and a radiant laugh that illuminated our days. Those visits were our lifeline and rural retirement porch swing conversations overlooking the fields, Catherine's renowned roast with garden-fresh vegetables, and board games until midnight. These simple traditions anchored us. At our age, in our 70s, Sophie's Sundays were more than companionship. They sustained us. She adjusted our finicky TV setup, updated Catherine's computer, and fixed items my arthritis prevented me from handling. She reviewed our medications and appointments, ensuring our independence without making us feel fragile. Tensions emerged at the annual HOA meeting when the board introduced rural preservation rules to limit unwanted traffic. They implemented a cider registration system requiring pre-approval, which initially seemed reasonable. However, Margaret Sinclair, a former real estate executive with political ambitions, assumed the HOA presidency in what resembled a corporate takeover. I had witnessed similar tactics during my career with large firms. She exploited vulnerabilities, One's precarious mortgage following a lawsuit, the Carter family's need for autism-friendly home modifications, and retired Judge Ellison's desire for influence. Offering loans, swift approvals, or prestigious titles, she hosted extravagant gatherings with premium liquor and catering that far exceeded our HOA dues. Personal budget, she would deflect when questioned. She said bylaws with convoluted legal jargon, concealing their impact like the committee efficiency protocol that replaced elected representatives with her appointees. Within weeks, she introduced the Community Harmony Plan, culminating in the Sunday Solitude Rule, no outside ciders on Sundays to ensure peace and exclusive tie. The board approved it during a sparsely attended Tuesday meeting, burying it in a 16-page newsletter between gardening advice and waste schedules. Most residents overlooked it until ciders were turned away. Last June, Father's Day coincided with a Sunday me first since undergoing triple bypass surgery, which I narrowly served Vet. Sophie called, elated, "Dad, I found Grandma's apple pie recipe in Mom's cookbook. I'm baking it at 4 a.m., just like she showed us." From the kitchen, Catherine and I watched as Sophie arrived at the gate in her green sundress worn for my brother's memorial, holding a pie adorned with a pastry heart and the words, "Love you, Dad." Margaret, clad in a crisp blazer, blocked the driveway, declaring, "Your pie isn't welcome on Sundays. New rule, no gatherings without approval." Sophie pleaded, "It's Father's Day. Dad had heart surgery." Margaret remained unmoved. Rules are rules. One exception, and everyone expects one. Sophie turned away, sobbing, clutching the pie tightly. From the porch, her voice cracked. "Please, I drove 4 hours." Margaret stood resolute. "Board's orders. No exceptions." Something within me broke. Trust in our rural haven shattered. That night, from the barn loft, we saw Margaret hosting 8 guests out of state license plates, laughter, and wine flowing late into the evening. The hypocrisy stung deeply. On Tuesday, I confronted the HOA meeting in the old barn, the room packed and charged with tension. "This is outrageous," I declared. "Your Sunday ban barred my daughter on Father's Day, post-surgery, over a pie." Margaret, her pearls gleaming, offered a thin smile. "Mr. Reynolds, these rules protect us traffic, noise, security." "Complaints from whom?" I retorted. Henry Olson, a beekeeper, spoke up. "My son's family was turned away. The grandkids missed our fishing day." Widowed Ruth Bennett added, "My sister flew from Oregon to help after my husband passed. She was denied entry on Sunday. Stories accumulated, families DIY dead, support severed." Margaret remained composed. "Change is difficult, but property values have risen." 12 fan tram with enhanced security. Catherine squeezed my hand, silently noting every detail. The meeting concluded with hollow assurances. Walking home, Catherine observed, "Margaret had 6 cars Sunday. She's exempt. One rule for them, another for us," I growled. Her eyes narrowed. "Something's amiss, DIY. Follow the money." Her 27 years as an IRS tax auditor, renowned for her tenacity, sprang into action. By Thursday, Catherine was at the dining table, immersed in HOA records. Landscaping costs surged 340 fan tram in 14 months, no itemization, she noted. Admin fees reached due law $78,000 last year. 5 years ago, I kept them at due law $12,000. Road upgrades escalated from due law $45,000 to due law $137,000 unexplained special engineering. She contacted James Carter, an IRS director, and over coffee on the porch, they dissected the figures. "Shell game," James murmured. "Fragmented invoices, fake vendors, identical typos across 3 companies." "A smaller Minneapolis," Catherine remarked, recalling her due law $14 million case. "They planned to trace bank statements and cash flows." Catherine demanded full HOA records, supported by state law. 3 days later, a cease and desist letter arrived from a prestigious firm, Grayson, Holt, and Pierce, alleging harassment and threatening fines. Catherine smiled. "They're rattled, DIY. Lawyers mean they're hiding something significant." A plain note followed, slipped into our door. "Stop asking questions or regret it." "Criminal intimidation," I said, reaching for the phone. Catherine intercepted me, bagging the note. "Not yet. Intimidation, not a direct threat. We need more." The neighborhood dynamic shifted. Conversations grew curt, iron ceased, and allies avoided us. Thomas Reed, a meeting supporter, confessed tearfully, "They're hitting me with assessments gnome violations. 3 months' worth of meds. Fear gripped retirees on fixed incomes. The stress affected my health. Heart palpitations landed me in the hospital for 3 nights. Sophie rushed down but couldn't sit on Sunday, permitted Wednesday as health care, not family." From my window, I saw her weeping in her car at the gate, powerless. "No HOA again," I told Catherine, managing new medications. "Don't stop," she urged. "They're concealing something substantial." An email from a county contact revealed Margaret's former address linked to the security contractor her brother-in-law Michael's shell company, tied to 3 other vendors. Her due law $780,000 vacation home, purchased post a due law $137,000 security transfer, included a due law $13,500 cash down payment. While delivering jam to DR. Nguyen, Catherine caught Michael installing cameras aimed at our house. Wildlife monitors, he claimed, a lie, as no such committee existed. Ethan Brooks, a college student at the gate, showed Catherine a log. Margaret's friends flashed lights or called for Sunday entry, logged as landscaping or loading casseroles. I turned away Mr. Ortiz's daughter with his meds, he sighed. 2 rule books, Catherine concluded. She calculated due law $127,438 diverted over 37 months, a quarter of HOA revenue. Spreadsheets detailed inflated contracts. Due law $22,670 for fencing board properties. Due law $18,940 for landscaping at Margaret's retreat. Due law $15,325 for irrigation at the VP's fields, all unvoted. Laura Mitchell from City Planning confirmed Michael owned multiple vendors at the same address. An executive retreat plan wine cellar, theater, who consumed due law $340,000 from reserves while snowplowing diminished, pool hours shrank, and dues tripled amid maintenance excuses. Tax records showed board members acquiring unaffordable properties, our money, fueling their empire. Catherine compiled an airtight case, locked away. One shot at the big fish, she said. She enlisted Ruth Bennett, sharing critical Eve White-Danke. They barred my sister after my loss, Ruth wept. I felt selfish asking. Thomas Reed, a former construction manager, identified, quote, 60 fan tram above norm, noting cheap community upgrades versus board extravagance. Peter Ortiz, battling cancer, and Maria Gomez, post-surgery, joined grandkids and parking denied while bored relatives partied. The Carter family, James, a firefighter, and Lisa, a nurse, lost Team VY sits while VP Susan Harper's kids hosted pond parties. Helen Foster, a former secretary, revealed Margaret's threat to her license over financial inquiries, silencing her until now. Our coalition expanded, employing Catherine's IRS secrecy tactics. Nina Patel, a paralegal at the Attorney General's office with local ties, funneled our dossier to the Financial Crimes Unit. Common in affluent areas, she said. This warrants investigation. We invoked Bylaw 12.4 for an emergency meeting, forcing a Saturday schedule. The barn overflowed hay bales, chairs, and palpable tension. Margaret tapped her portfolio. This isn't authorized. Catherine stood. Bylaw 12.4. 10 fan tram resident support triggers re-VYEW. We have 42 fan tram, distributing White-Danke folders. Gasps rippled as she outlined shell companies, padded invoices, retreat plans, and isolation tactics. Margaret snapped. Outrageous. I'll sue for defamation. Truth defends itself, Catherine replied. The AG's investigating. The room erupted. Neighbors demanded answers. Board members faltered. Margaret sneered. Move if you don't like it. Thomas stood firm. This land's ours, generations deep. You forgot whose money you took. Ruth added. My kids grew here. Your upgrades don't own us. Residents rose, a wall of resolve. 2 weeks later, the AG probe made headlines. A month on, Margaret and 3 board allies faced charges: fraud, theft, intimidation. The following Sunday, Sophie arrived with pie. As we sat on the porch, I savored not just the breeze but the freedom to embrace my daughter on our reclaimed land.